Let's be honest. Are there parts of your business that you should be doing, but you just can't get yourself to do them? Well, I know I can relate to that. Today, our mindset coach, Paul Salter, and I are going to have a conversation about how you can break through and get things done. Stay tuned. This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keeping it real pod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keeping it real pod. And now, onto our show. Today's episode is brought to you by Corded.io. Are you looking for agents to join your brokerage or team? Now, as a real estate recruiter, I can tell you the answer is always yes. But most agents aren't looking to move right now. So how do you know who to contact? Well, what if I were to tell you there's a recruiting and retention tool powered by artificial intelligence that shows you exactly which agents in your local market are looking to leave their brokerage right now and which agents at your own firm are also looking to leave you? Now, I've been recruiting realtors for 15 years and I've hired over 2,000 agents. I can tell you with no exaggeration, this is the tool I've been waiting for. Corded's AI looks for trends across dozens of variables for each agent in your market and shows you which agents they believe are likely to move. Not only does it do that, but Corded's AI went and visited my recruiting website and read everything I offer. So now when I'm recruiting, Corded's AI tells me exactly what to say based on that agent's needs and what my brokerage can offer. It even writes emails for me. I've never seen anything like it, and I use it every single day. Now, if you are looking to grow your brokerage, Corded.io is the best tool out there. Visit Corded.io to schedule a demo. Again, that's Corded.io. And now, onto the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real. We're the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. This is our 8th year, and this is probably around our 730th episode. And today we are bringing on one of our monthly guests who actually has his own show within our network. So his name is Paul Salter. He has a mindset episode that he does every single month here on the show. We wanted to talk to him to get some updates on not only what he's working with clients, but also to remind our audience that he's a great person if you need a mindset coach. And I sort of think most of us probably do, but let me tell you more about Paul. I certainly need one. Paul is a high performance hypnotherapist and mindset coach who leverages hypnosis, also powerful subconscious reprogramming techniques to help his clients get unstuck, also get out of their own way, and ultimately unlock their potential. He has over 16 years of coaching experience and has personally coached more than 3,000 high performers in various industries. His clientele has included business owners, CEOs, high-level execs, serial entrepreneurs, amateur and professional golfers, professional poker players, and professional traders. Noteworthy experiences on his journey include working as a high-performance sports dietitian at ING Academy, serving as the lead nutrition writer and editor at bodybuilding.com, and teaching advanced human performance at Northern Arizona University. He has some great credentials, and he also played poker professionally for 2 years. So I want you to follow him on Instagram at the Paul Salter. That's SALT So the Paul Salter. We have a link to that in the show notes. And also find him. This is where you could learn more about his coaching. And his current website is thegolfhypnotherapist.com. He doesn't just do golf mindset work or performance coaching. He does it for all industries, but thegolfhypnotherapist.com, or just reach out to us. We'll always connect you with him. Paul, welcome back.
DJ, it's my pleasure. And dude, 700 plus episodes. Congratulations to you and the team.
Yeah, thanks. It's a labor of love, but it's a lot of fun because I get to talk to people like you, and you are always working with clients who are super impressive. But I love talking to high achievers, high performers, and just learning what they're doing. And so even though I've heard a very similar story from the hundreds and hundreds of top 1% realtors I've interviewed over the years, it never really gets old because I just get to hear the same fundamentals over and over again. And it's like maybe they're just going to start taking hold more in me than I care to admit that they have over the time. But I love hearing, oh, you do this. And I'm not a practicing agent, but I love hearing the fundamentals of work hard, stay disciplined, do the habits, find those high revenue generating parts of your day and do that. And so I love it because I get to be reminded of, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. So it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And you bring up so many good points. And I still remember this. One of the last questions you asked me the very first time you and I connected still resonates with me this day. You asked me what advice is commonly given that I find, I don't know how you phrased it, is ineffective or not actually good advice. And I told you, just do it. And I love Nike. I wear Nike all the time. Let me be candid. I don't have any problem with Nike, but you started alluding to there are these systems, these habits, these rituals that we read about and learn from online about what all of the top performers in their respective industries do every single day. Yet we have these also personalities on social media that say, just do it, grind, work, hustle. But if you know what to do and you're not doing it, it's not a lack of knowledge problem. It's very much a mindset problem, an emotional regulation, energy availability problem. Yeah. And I think that speaks really well to what you were beginning to allude to, is there are all these, these intangibles and tangible tactics that we can take, or we know we should take to raise the bar, to achieve more, do more, be more. But if we find ourselves struggling to do it, reading another book, finding another online course is not the answer. It's when we start to turn things inside, look within, take ownership, and begin letting go of some of those behaviors, beliefs, and patterns of thinking that we're able to go and grow.
Yeah, I get caught in this pattern a lot where I'll see some new shiny object that it promises to teach me the best possible system for X. Whether it's now I'm using Notion, which is a really cool piece of software, and I'm like, this is going to fix all the disorganization in my life. And guess what? It doesn't, but it's cool. And I use it. And there's really a lot of benefits to all sorts of different technologies. But at the end of the day, when I talk to these top agents and I ask them what they do, they rarely talk about technology. They all use it, but they really just talk about like getting things done. And that ultimately is, the getting things done is like the best system, they say, is the one you'll use. And so systems are easy, as you say. There's a million self-help books, and you can watch TikTok or Instagram and get a lot of ideas there, and some of those are really good ideas. But you're right, at the end of the day, I don't think it's the system that we struggle with as much as just whatever gets in our way, mentally. And I know I deal with this because I have to make, because of my position, I recruit realtors. I shouldn't say I have to. I really get to do this, but sometimes it feels like I have to. And I call agents who are not probably wanting my phone call and certainly not expecting it. And I have to somehow start a conversation. And those are, I get stuck sometimes going, I don't want to do that. And even though every time I do that is one closer to somebody joining us, and we have 700 agents here, certainly done a lot of it over the years. I started here when we just had a few, but even today, it's hard for me. And so I don't need another system. I've got plenty of systems. I need help with my mindset. And I think that is what gets in the way. I don't think it's mostly systems, right?
Yeah, I agree. It was fascinating. You can go to Google and you can get any piece of information you want. Like, go Google NASA's blueprint to build a rocket ship. You're going to get the blueprints, the architecture, the design You still got to do the thing. You still got to find the
Mhm.
team, the experts, and bring it all together. And most importantly, take action. So you're right. It's never a system problem. Sure, you might need to fill a knowledge gap to build a system. That's
Sure.
why we have wonderful resources like you, your team, and everyone you've built into this network over the years. But at the end of the day, I'm not in real estate. You could hand me the blueprint to build an agency to go close 100 deals this year. I still have to do it.
Yeah.
And the problem so many people run into, I like to use a metaphor to explain this. If your personal goal, DJ, is the equivalent of summiting the top of a mountain, and that is where your ultimate success, your potential, even self actualization resides. Well, you and me both know many people have summited that mountain of next level success. Many have done so taking a variety of different paths to get there. So we have the plan. We've seen that it's done. We know there's multiple steps to take, multiple routes to take. But what often holds, entrepreneurs in the early stages back to begin with, even at the higher stages, is it's like suddenly you begin your journey to traverse the summit of this mountain, and an extremely dense fog and immense cloud coverage comes in. Suddenly you can't see where you're going. You don't know what to do. You second guess, you doubt. There's uncertainty in your decision making. And that cloud or fog is an emotional fog. And for many people, it shows up as anxiety. It
Yeah.
shows up as fear of failure, judgment, reaction.
Yep.
Also, success, standing out. It might be anger, it might be shame. And a lot of my work initially is diffusing that emotional cloud so that clarity comes back and they're able to execute upon the system they have so they can begin building momentum and finding themselves stuck in an upward spiral.
Yeah, you have a history in sports medicine or exercise science in particular,
Mhm.
and you're a workout guy. And I just learned this. I didn't ever think this was a thing, but I've learned that there's a lot of people who want to go to a gym and exercise, but they have such anxiety about the way they might be perceived. Maybe they don't have the body type they think they should, or they don't know how to do the exercise, or maybe they feel weak or whatever. I mean weak with their muscles, and they feel like that would
Mhm.
be embarrassing or something. And it's interesting because that would never occur to me. And I struggle to go to the gym. I have a trainer, which is how I was able to figure out my system was get an appointment, put on the calendar, and I show up and pay a whole bunch of money to do it.
Yeah.
But for people, I felt like so sad for people who are dealing with that. And again, we all have anxiety around certain things. But I thought, here are people that want to exercise. They're motivated enough to really try to get to the gym. And they're just like, I'm not good enough to be here, or I'm going to be judged. And so I just think, boy, what a shame. Like, it's hard enough to get to the gym. If you can do that part and then just not care about what anyone else might be thinking, which by the way, they're not thinking about you anyway, but it feels like they are, you could really have an amazing life.
You're spot on. And like logically, like you just said, we know 99% of the time other people are so consumed by A, either social media and their phone, or B, their own thoughts, their insecurities and whatnot. They're not paying any attention to you. And if you're someone who relates to what DJ just shared, like, let me be the first to remind you it's not your fault. You're
Right.
literally programmed that way because thousands of years ago, if you were judged, if you were kicked out of your respective tribe, you literally died. You starved to death. The saber-toothed tiger had lunch for that day. So it is hardwired in your DNA to seek belonging, to want to fit in, to be accepted. And there is all range of body types, sizes, and experience levels, degrees of kindness, even in the gym. And it can be very intimidating to find where you fit in and belong initially, which can be a massive turnoff, unfortunately.
Yeah. You're right. And it's again, but it's most of the time I find people are pretty friendly, if anything. And at the gym, everyone's got headphones in. So as you said, they're not paying attention. But again, this is all logical. We know this. Most people know this, and yet and again, it's never the logic part that really runs the show. It's the emotional side, right? It's the thing that tells me, even though I'm a perfectly nice person, when I call somebody, I'm really not bothering them because I'm not the way that I do it is I try to build a relationship, and I'm not just going to pitch them on joining our company. But it's still, I get in my own way and I say, people are going to hate me for doing this. And and I think about the pain that's going to come from that, the shame, the being shunned or shamed, like you said,
Mhm.
and it stops me from doing it. And at the end of the day, if I just did it, rarely would anybody even get the least bit upset. Most people don't even answer their phone anyway. They just let it go to voicemail. So it's not that big. There's not a lot at stake here, but it feels like everything in that moment. And I know people listening, who are agents deal with this when they want to call their past clients. Maybe they haven't called them in a year and they're like, oh, now I'm like embarrassed. I haven't called them in a while. What do I say? It's like, well, you could go on to Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT and say, what should I say to a client? Like, it'll give you a script. So you don't even have to worry about what to say. Just look that up. But then you just have to make that dial, and that anxiety might get in the way. So even though people go, I want to know what to say, I think what they really want to know is, how do I pick up that phone?
And will it be okay if
Yeah.
I am perceived to be rejected? And it also all comes down to stories. Like the story an agent is telling his or herself about the potential outcome before they even pick up the phone is the inhibiting factor. It is that fear that they'll be rejected, or that person they call will be so angry, mad, turned off, pissed off from that conversation. Oh my God, how dare you interrupt my day and distract me, whatever it may be. That story percolates with such a vast amount of emotional charge. It stops you dead in your tracks. Again,
Totally.
even if you know it's exactly what you need to be doing to scale your business to the next level, you freeze.
Yeah. No, I deal with it.
Yeah. The best part though, this is all learned. These are all pre-programmed reactions designed to keep you safe, to ensure that you're not rejected or abandoned by your tribe. Where the good part is, all of this can be unlearned. You can harvest the energy from the unlearning process to build better beliefs, which then create opportunities for better behaviors and ultimately better outcomes.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I've been studying mindfulness for a number of years now, and what's really cool about mindfulness, which I didn't know until I didn't really understand that this was one of the benefits, but now I'm to the point, even though I still struggle to get certain things done, mindfulness isn't necessarily going to cure that for me, but it at least informs me of what's going on in my brain to at least stop me from doing the thing. And to your point, it's an old story. I'm telling myself maybe something I learned in childhood, or just like you said, there's an evolutionary challenge possibly from way back where you actually might get kicked out and then you die. So you do go into that sympathetic nervous system response, that fight or flight response, which is not the place to go if you need to make a complicated, comprehensive decision. If you need to run away from something, yes, it's perfect. But other than that, you're going to need your frontal cortex. And the only way to do that is to be in the parasympathetic, which is relax. And they call it rest and digest. That I'm calm. Now I can reason. But the mindfulness piece has been great because I can at least see the anxiety. I at least know it's there. And now I can work with someone like you to help me, get past it.
You just said two really important pieces of information. I want to make sure that they're really echo. Number one, you can see the anxiety. You sharing that, and I'm not sure if you did this intentionally. I have an imagination you did. You're metaphorically creating space between you and the anxiety. You're not saying, I'm DJ, I am anxious. No, you're saying there's a part of me that's anxious, or I feel anxious, but I don't identify with anxiety. And that's huge. By saying I see it, even personifying it. There's a part of me that's anxious. It's a little kid. It looks like A, B, and C. It's a color that creates space, which separation is huge.
I'll tell you, you are so right. And for those of us listening, what mindfulness is, and this is exactly what Paul just said, is the way I describe it to people. And look, sometimes it's only a millisecond of what I'm about to share, but that millisecond is everything. And sometimes it's 2 seconds and sometimes it's more, but usually it's about a millisecond. And what that is for a moment, because I'm being the observer of my own internal experience. I am not the thing having the experience. I am outside of it. I'm watching it like on a movie screen or a TV screen. I'm not it, because at that moment, DJ over there is having the experience and DJ over here is going, oh, look, DJ over there is getting really upset. He's getting really freaked out. And you were so right. And in that brief moment where I'm able to witness my own anxiety, I am not the thing being anxious. And so there is like, it's like a lock to a prison I didn't know I was in. It doesn't always mean I can easily stay away from it, but at least for a moment, like you said, I'm not having the thing, which means it's not real. It's just a thing that that DJ over there is experiencing. DJ over here is not experiencing it. So it really leads me to I finally started thinking, oh, my thoughts aren't real things. That's just what my brain does. My brain just has learned to get anxious about this. Who cares? That's fine. But DJ over here isn't anxious. And if I can pivot away from anxious DJ, then I can actually maybe do the thing.
there's magic in that millisecond. What you just described is really the goal that I underscore is the real priority when I work with my clients, is that we're trying to shift away from unconscious reaction, these automated unconscious stories, into a state of conscious response. Aside from the subtleties in my word choice, the only difference is a pause, a moment. And in that moment, we get to choose different, to feel different, think different, do different, be different. And that's how we achieve different. And mindfulness meditation, like you mentioned, that's an opportunity to develop that skill over and over and over again. And you get to take that millisecond experience into other parts of your days. You can't just leave your mindfulness practice, whether it's on the mat, in your chair, on your bed, whatever it is. You get to bring it into the rest of your day. And that's where the magic and growth and opportunity reside.
I'll tell you a fun thing that my fiance and I are doing, because we just moved in together, and look, everyone who's a realtor knows how stressful it is to move in general. To move in with somebody, of course, even more stressful. And this was all around the holidays, also additional stress. And we're getting married in a few weeks, and this just happened a few months ago. So there's a lot of stress going on. All good stuff, but ultimately hard stuff. And we were arguing a lot, and it was just trying to integrate our lives together. And she has never lived with anyone, and I hadn't lived with anyone in like 5 years. So, just whatever, getting used to that. So we were having these arguments, and it was really a bummer. And finally, I said, we need to build a better habit here, because this is silly. Like, we don't actually have problems between us. We actually really like each other. We're kind of butting heads. So I said, let's do this. When you come home every day, I said, let's build a ritual that we can do every single day, no matter what mood we're in. And we are just going to play the role of two people who are madly in love for 15 minutes. We're going to sit on a couch, and we're going to ask each other about our day. And we are going to be laser focused into the other person. Even if we have issues with that with the partner at the time, we are going to drop that for 15 minutes. We are going to be in love. We're playing a role in a movie or a play, and we are going to step into that. And then all of a sudden, so we do that for 15 minutes. We also do one appreciation. We say, oh, you did this thing yesterday that I really appreciate. So we do that. We hug at the end, which I think is also really significant. And then lo and behold, we don't get into any more arguments the rest of the night. And it's like, oh, but we have to do that every day now. And like, it's a great thing I look forward to, because I know it's a guaranteed win. So it's these rituals that are so important. And I love that that's like a big thing for you too, is working with your clients to develop these habits.
Yeah, and I love that for you. Congratulations on the upcoming wedding and
the
wherewithal and wisdom to create that.
Well, it was born out of a lot of pain. It was born out of a lot of.
But isn't that life? We have these hardships and challenges, and we can get stuck in the story of woe is me, I'm the victim, life happened to me, or this is happening for me. What's it teaching me? All these emotions we experience, they're teachers. There's learning lessons underneath the emotional energy. And you two took that to heart. Literally, this is not us. We're not even arguing about like real things. Let me learn from it. What can we do differently? We'll choose to behave differently, to achieve differently. And lo and behold, you've got this beautiful ritual.
Well, and to your point, as a mindset coach, we realized when we were in conflict, we were looking at the other person as a problem. Like, this person is a problem in my life right now. And well, of course, if I looked at you as a problem, I'm going to treat you like you're a problem. I'm going to argue. And if instead I started saying, wow, how lucky I am, I get to wake up next to this person. And this person's like so amazing, I want to marry them. Like, they're amazing. But if I get stuck in this, like, they didn't do this one thing right, and they're a problem, I'm gonna be not as kind to them as I ought to. And so we realized that even though we might have felt right in the moment, like, you should have done this thing in a certain way, we're like, oh, what we're really saying is to the other person unconsciously, you're sort of not good enough right now. Like, that's kind of what we're saying when we're fighting. And it's like, oh, that's not a great message. So instead, we've worked really hard, because those patterns still come up, and we work really hard to go, you're not a problem. And then, I don't want you to feel like a problem. And then it's like, do I really even need to bring this up? Usually not. So.
Yeah. And now building this even bigger, we talked about the magic in the millisecond of a mindfulness practice. I think it was Joseph Joseph Murphy or Joseph Campbell. I mixed them up. They're two wonderful authors, gurus in the spiritual space. You should read their books regardless. But the way he paraphrases life is nothing but a meditation. So when you develop a ritual like DJ just described, that is literally a break from the story, the pattern, the program that's been running, and an opportunity to ground yourself in the present moment. And he's obviously doing this with his fiance, but you can do this on your own with some type of practice in silence and solitude, a reflective process to come back home to you, to connect with, whether you call it your intuition, your highest self, or if you have a religious practice, but it grounds you into the present moment to ensure, am I aligned? Am I doing what needs to be done? Am I not letting the current of life sweep me off my feet and just blow me in some random direction? Am I the one driving the ship and ensuring I'm moving in the right direction? And that's why, you do that every day with your fiance. You need to have some type of daily ritual, if you're listening to this, to ensure that you are aligned and being the person you need to be to go where you need to go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And for me, yeah, we do this ritual together, but I also need my own ritual in the evening when I get home, where I take 20 minutes and I completely unplug. For me, I lay down on a bed. I don't go to sleep, but I just, pay attention to what's going on. And I just, like you said, that quiet time. And not everybody, it's not easy for parents and stuff to always get that quiet time. So I can understand that, but there is magic in it. And it really changes, if I'm looking at social media, for example, as an addiction, which thankfully I don't have. A lot of people do. And I'm grateful I don't have that, because I didn't grow up with it. So it wasn't as significant for me when it came about. So I'm not scrolling TikTok or Instagram, but if I was, I would be so activated. It would not be good for me, because I'm highly activated as it is. So I need to go and get to a quiet place for 20 minutes, unwind and recharge, and then come back up and rejoin my partner.
Yeah, but you said something interesting. I'm a new parent. I have a 15-month-old at home. So I now have that added layer of relatability after coaching so many people not being a parent for so long. That practice still needs to be a priority. And I'm a single dad. So I have a nanny. Like right now, today, I have a nanny outside with my son. They're having a blast. I have 4 podcasts in a row. This is number 3. As soon as I'm done, I go take my son to swimming lessons. I've got about a 15-minute window. So what I ensure I do every time, I call this an intentional transition, is I will close my eyes. I'll sit in my office chair where you see me now, and I'll take 5 to 10 deep breaths and choose an intention on how I want to show up for my son. It same applies, you can park in your driveway or your garage, take a few deep breaths. You finish that last Zoom call before you go out and be mom and dad, whatever it may be. You have to be intentional. But what that break does is it helps to just de-stress or decompress, get rid of all of the baggage from the workday, and it gives you an opportunity to choose the energy and the person you want to be moving into the next chapter of your day. It's crucial.
Yeah, most people, when they want that time alone, they just go straight to Instagram or TikTok and
yes,
and get that sort of dopamine hit. And look, that's fine. I'm not here to judge that. I mean, I have we all have little addictions, but I would tell you that what you're doing is really important, because you're asking a very intentional question. You're saying how, and this is the magic of it, is how do I want to show up for my son in the next moment when I'm going to be with him? And boy, that is going to put you in the right mindset, because all of a sudden you're like, well, my 15-month-old is going to be watching and paying attention to how dad shows up, and how, and of course you want, the healthiest child possible. And so, that you need to show up in a healthy way as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you frame that. And I think the question I extract that I want everyone listening to really capture here, and I'm going to phrase it a little differently, is like, who do I need to become? Who do I want to be in that moment? A variation depending on the context here. It's especially applicable to goal setting. I want to achieve this many deals, take my business to this next level. We can get all lost in the tactics and systems, but first and foremost, it's an identity issue. Who do I need to become to be the person that has an 8-figure real estate business? Who do I need to become to lead a team of 700 real estate agents, or whatever it may be? So that's an identity level. And then on the micro level, what's the best version of me I want to bring to my significant other, to my child, to my friend, to my dog, who I hear whining at the door, who misses me already? You get it. It's a choice. Everything in life is a choice, which is why you have an abundance of opportunity ahead of you if you choose to see it that way.
It's one of the only choices we truly have, I think, because life is going to
Yeah.
happen to us. Good things happen, hard things happen, terrible things happen. It just it's that's just life. And all that we get to choose is what the meaning we attach to it. I always loved Man's Search for Meaning, the book
Yeah.
by Viktor Frankl, who was in
Mhm.
was at the concentration camps. In particular, he was at Auschwitz, and I visited Auschwitz. I know the horrors that happened there.
Mhm.
And he somehow was able to laugh and joke and find moments of joy amongst this terrible, terrible thing. And he wrote this book that's been one of the most influential books ever written. And it's all about you can still find meaning in the worst possible circumstances. It's not easy, but you can do it. And if somebody can find how to be happy at Auschwitz or Dachau or any of those concentration camps and survive, because he realized the people that were the happiest, and there weren't many, but he said people who were able to have meaning in their life survived at a much higher rate in those camps.
Yeah.
So it's something that you're absolutely so right. We get to choose the meaning we attach to something.
So here's the interesting part. So what you just described is a lens on life.
Yeah.
That lens, the way I would describe it, is a belief. A belief is nothing more than a lens through which we see life. It's a filter through which we make decisions and take actions. Now, here's the really interesting part, though. 95% of our core beliefs are formed by the age of 7.
Right.
What that means is you didn't choose your belief, yet you are the only person who can do something about it. And here's the interesting paradox where it is just a choice. If that's not how you were raised or the environment you were brought up in, that choice feels foreign, uncomfortable, different, challenging. Doesn't mean it's bad. Different just is. So if what DJ's sharing resonates with you, you're stuck more in kind of the victim. Life is always happening to me rather than for me. No, that is not the only way. You do have an opportunity. It's going to take conscious, consistent repetition, but you can upgrade that belief, letting go of some of the past lenses you've used to see yourself in the world.
Yeah, that's why I love talking to top 1% realtors, because they just have a different mindset. And not just that they can get themselves to take more consistent action, which is probably true, than
Mhm.
somebody who isn't performing well, but they just are excited about doing the job. It is almost a universal thing where these top agents, they don't dislike their job. They're like grateful they get to do it. And the money just kind of comes. Most of them aren't even that motivated by money. They're motivated by helping people. And that lens is, wow, I thought like, oh, I get to, especially like with what I struggle with sometimes with my cold calls, is I'm actually calling to help people. And if I
That.
remembered that, that would probably help me make a few more dials, as opposed to, oh, what if they see me as some sort of jerk, which they're not going to see that. Because I also tell people, if you're not a jerk, you don't have to worry about being perceived as a jerk. I mean, you're just not. Now, if everyone sees you that way, maybe there's change to make. But I think that's really important, is to examine. But here's the other thing, and I think this is why you're so important, is you talk about these beliefs that come from our parents by the age of 7, and some of them are fantastic and are serving to
Mhm.
us, others are not. And it's not our parents didn't probably intend for us to have these limiting beliefs or unfortunate beliefs, but it just happens. And I have them as well. And what's amazing is I think people often forget you can't always solve your own problems. If you could, you would,
Mhm.
right? Like, if I could get myself to the gym and consistently work out on my own, I really wouldn't need a personal trainer. But it's 6.5 years now, and I still keep paying her, because I know if I stop, I will stop going to the gym. Like, I wish that wasn't the truth, but I know myself, and that is truth. So the point is I can't solve that. Maybe one day I can solve it. Who knows? But for now, I have a system that works, and I have somebody who's an external person to help me. And because of her, I get everything done in the gym. So getting somebody like you is really important, because you can help people break through those limitations where they're not always going to be able to do that themselves. In fact, most times they probably can't.
Yeah, you're spot on. I'm a big believer, and obviously I'm biased towards my type of work, but I have two mindset coaches in my corner because asking for help accelerates results. And you mentioned something really important. Like, yes, if we had the ability to do that ourselves, we would do it. The problem is all of the challenges that hold us back from next level success are directly embedded in our identity. And we are programmed to survive. not
Yeah.
to thrive. So anytime we are gunning and pushing for next level success, it's a literal threat. We've stepped outside of our comfort zone. Our subconscious is wired to keep us safe, so it keeps us
Yeah.
stuck in predictability and familiarity and certainty. So when it comes to letting go of those beliefs and behaviors holding us back, that's literally letting go of an identity. Life as we know it, it can be messy, complex, uncomfortable to say the least. We're not going to intentionally put ourselves in there or in that position on our own, which is why we need the outside support, accountability, and a safe space to do so, which allows us to build a new next level identity.
I'd love to hear any success stories you have of clients recently, that anything that you've, and obviously keeping their identities, of course, to privately, but what sort of successes do you see when you're working with clients?
Yeah, so I've got this one phenomenal client, and I will shout out to you. She's a listener of the show. That is how
Oh,
we
great.
connected. Real estate was a second career for her. And I'm going to share a couple of what might feel like random pieces of information that all come together. So she was born to two immigrant parents who moved here with nothing, started over essentially with one primary goal: give my children a much better life and opportunity than I did back in my home country. So they moved here. Her parents worked incredibly hard. And as you can imagine, as a sponge that a 6, 7-year-old kid is, she observed that work ethic, that tenacity. She absorbed it. So her herself had a successful financial career, started a new career in real estate. And for a very long period of time, one year after the next, more money, more deals, more notoriety, more accomplishments, more stress, more anxiety, more alcohol, more lack
Mm,
of self-care,
yeah,
poor sleep hygiene, poor self-care routine, inconsistent meditation, gym. I'm not worthy. I can't slow down. I don't deserve this. If I slow down, I'll lose it tomorrow. So there were a collection of beliefs that on paper she looked incredibly successful, but on the inside it was just chaos,
yeah,
turmoil, hardship, losing touch with herself. And we were able to uncover, how dare she have this level of financial success when her parents
yeah,
sacrificed so much to give her
sure.
this opportunity. So it didn't feel safe. So therefore, it didn't feel sustainable. And the only way to sustain it was to completely exhaust herself at the expense of her own health and well being. So over our time together, we have rebuilt her relationship with success, created a sense of safety, understanding that it starts with her caring for herself. And as that has unfolded, she's had more clarity. She's created more space. Dare I say, she's taken days off from her phone. She's taken vacation. She's stopped working at a certain time, which has had a very positive impact, not only on her relationship with herself, with her husband, with her children, with her extended family. And now, guess what? The finances only went up, but also her
Sure.
well-being, her relationship with herself have been scaled tremendously as well.
Wow. Well, that is incredible. And whoever that listener is, I appreciate you, giving Paul an opportunity. And boy, one day, if you ever want to be on our show, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you, because that to me is a success story. That's an incredible success story. I would love to know, uh, you know, more about that transition, because that's a big transition, and
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that.
yeah, yeah.
So when you first start working with clients, how long typically does the process, and again, I know everyone's different, but how long does it typically take to start seeing results?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one. So I always love to ensure I never overpromise, and I like to be just very candid. And I like to use the metaphor that if we are all born, this is going to sound funny, but I promise it'll make sense in the end. If we're born as perfect squares, and self-actualization, our potential is becoming a perfect sphere, the process of personal development is beginning to sand those edges. And as we begin that process, the first 10, 20, 30 to 50 years of our life, new edges and rough spots are created. So when somebody comes to work with me, there is a collection of big rough spots, blocks, and a collection of some smaller spots that need some fine tuning. So typically when someone comes to me, our first conversation is Paul's going to ask you 1,000 questions back to early childhood, teenage years, because I'm building my roadmap. I'm beginning to understand where are the potential origin points of these beliefs and these programs and behaviors not serving you. Let's build the order of priorities. So the first couple of calls, we've likely discovered some massive blocks, these big fears, imposter syndrome, massive amounts of anxiety, anger, repressed shame, or grief. So typically, candidly, in one call, we can alleviate a lot of that. Now, there's one call does not solve all of your problems. There's the application and integration phase too, which is why I'm such a stickler for communication and accountability between our calls. But typically over a 12-month call package, there's a period of time where there's some massive blocks and big rough edges that we smooth out. And then there's a period of time where it's more fine tuning and optimization. And, there's an undulation to it that's unique to everybody's journey. But if someone truly shows up, they feel called to this type of work, they're courageous, they're coachable, they're vulnerable, they're ready to look within, the results are right there for the taking. And we can achieve them early, but most importantly, we can sustain them and raise the floor so they continue to have more and more results, becoming the best version of themselves.
Yeah, and I sort of think, and I don't know what your policy is around this or personal belief around it, but I think, every year I take my car into the auto body shop, the one I trust, and I say, you guys just tell me, look at the car, just scope it out, tell me what's broken, tell me what needs to be fixed. And because I trust them, I don't have to think about it. I just know that they're honest. So I do that once a year, whether my car's running perfectly or not. They often find things that I wouldn't have known about. And I'm never going to stop doing that because it's a good idea. I don't stop going to get a physical once a year or going to the dermatologist or getting my teeth cleaned every 6 months, So there's these regular check-ins that I think are so important. And I imagine, you probably have clients that have been with you for years and years, and it's not that they're necessarily struggling like they did, but maybe a new problem pops up, or maybe a new issue, or maybe just they need some maintenance, right?
With every new level comes a new devil. That's really what it is. I mean, the challenges you'll face when you're running an 8 or 9 figure company aren't present when you're trying to scale 7 figures, because you don't know that perceived pressure or threat of expectation at that level. And you're a totally different person at this time. So there will always be new challenges, doors to unlock to get to the next level. But when you're at a lower level, and I don't mean that condescendingly, but you're at where you are now compared to where you're going to be and after 10 years of consistent personal development, I don't know what those challenges are.
Yeah,
so as you go and you grow, you unlock more, you learn tremendously more about yourself. And like you alluded to, they're not always these big life-shattering challenges, but they are things that cause energy leaks that ultimately stop you from doing what you need to be doing to sustain this new level of success and to climb to the next one.
Well, if anyone listening is struggling with I always think about habits as being the building blocks of success. And if you're struggling with any habit that is good for you, would impact your life in a positive way, whether it's your health, your wealth, your personal relationships, your business obviously is, what we talk about mostly here. For example, if you know that you should be calling your sphere of influence because 10 to 15% of them need a realtor every year. And if you're going, I know I should call them every so often and just check in and see how they're doing, but I'm not doing it. I know I should, I know it would only benefit me and I'm not doing it. Then you probably need someone like Paul. So if someone out there can resonate with that, and yeah, Paul, I want to talk to you as well. I got my own stuff I got to work on. So I want to talk to you and maybe set up a regular thing with us, because I got my own stuff. And even, everybody, like you said, you have coaches for you. My boss, who's an owner, has coaches for him. So every athlete I know has a coach. So it's a good idea to always have a coach. But how should somebody get in touch with you to see if it would be a good fit?
Yeah. So what I always do is, and we'll link this in the show notes before, I just always ask that if you're committed to this type of work, you want to learn more, I'll have you answer a few questions to apply to work with me. And the way that I do my coaching discovery calls is I give you a taste of an actual coaching experience. I don't just talk to you about it. Like, let's dig in. We'll get into the hypnosis portion, let you feel tangible results in that particular session. So you feel in your bones that this is aligned, the potential positive impact it's going to have on your business. And we build off of that.
What's the best way someone should reach out to you?
Instagram, the Paul Salter, or use the link in the show notes, or my email is paul@unstuckyourselfmindset.com.
Great. We'll have links, as Paul said, to those. And really, this, I think, is oftentimes something we just don't think enough about. Again, we think about systems, we think about what habits we're supposed to do, and then we don't do always the things we're supposed to do, and then we beat ourselves up. We don't really understand what's stopping us, and there's this shame spiral that continues. And working with someone like Paul is a good idea to again, if we could solve all of our own problems, we would. And simply, we just can't, unfortunately. So we need somebody like Paul. And just like athletes, they can't coach themselves. I mean, they're the best in the world at what they do, and they can't coach themselves. Like that, just think about that. Like Michael Jordan could not coach himself. He needed a coach, which is incredible.
Multiple coaches.
Yeah.
And what's even cool, I love that you brought in the athletic analogy real quick. Like athletes don't wait to hire coaches when they've won the Super Bowl. They hire it as soon as they make the decision that they are committed to success. So if you listening are committed to being the best agent, broker, investor you possibly can, don't wait until you win that nationally recognizable award. You invest in yourself now.
Yeah. And it's only going to benefit you. And Paul's going to be able to help you get unstuck. So reach out to Paul. Paul, on behalf of everyone who's watching and listening to us right now, we thank you so much for being part of our show, part of our family here, and also for offering these services to real estate agents, our listeners. So please, everyone, please reach out to Paul. We'd appreciate you, and he's going to help change your life. And also, on behalf of Paul and myself, I want to thank everybody for making it to the end of the episode. We thank our sponsors. We thank our listeners. We just appreciate you all. Please tell a friend about this episode. Everybody, could use a boost somewhere in their mindset. And this episode, really, we went into a lot of detail about various things, and this will really help anyone probably who's struggling right now, which is a lot of agents. So think about somebody you could shoot this episode to. That would help us tremendously. But we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, DJ.